Welcome. My name's Mark Nonestied. I'm Director of Exhibits and Programs here at East Jersey Old Town Village in Piscataway. And on behalf of the Middlesex County Board of Chosen Freeholders and the Middlesex County Cultural and Heritage Commission, I'd like to welcome you to the village and to our exhibit, Raritan Landing, Uncovering a Forgotten Past. So let's go inside and see the exhibit. The exhibit, Raritan Landing, Uncovering a Forgotten Past, explores the history of the Raritan Landing community, which was located near what's today present-day River Road and Landing Lane. The community was located at the head of navigation for high tide on the Raritan River. It was the furthest point up the Raritan River that a sailing vessel could travel. And warehouses and businesses and homes sprung up at that location, and it became a conduit for goods that were being imported and exported out of the region. The community was devastated during the Revolutionary War, was rebuilt shortly afterwards, but by the mid-19th century there were changing forms of technology and transportation that shifted the trade from the Raritan Landing community further downstream towards what's today New Brunswick. And the economy was pulled out from under this community, and it really vanished into oblivion. Today, parts of it lie within Johnson Park in Piscataway, and starting in the 1970s, the late 1970s, there were a series of archaeological excavations that took place over these last several decades, uncovering artifacts and building foundations from this community. And we'll take a walk around the exhibit and look at some of these items. Well, here we have a selection of artifacts that were uncovered by the archaeologists at the Raritan Landing site. These are items that date from the mid-1700s up to the mid-1800s. Many of these items were imported from England. There's some English slipware dishes here at the bottom from the 18th century, the 1700s, and then up here on the top are some transfer print dishes from about the mid-1800s. So again, just a nice sort of broad range of material over the last 100 years, 1750 to about 1850. These items here are stoneware. They were produced in the Westerwald region of Germany and imported here. So it really shows you the trade networks that were established during the colonial period and how somebody in Piscataway, New Jersey could have some of imported goods that were produced really all around the world. This here is an English wine bottle. Again, this dates to the 1700s. They're handmade. They were common imported items. I have another fragment of one here. This one is a complete example that just shows you how it was produced. This indentation on the bottom, which exists on the piece in the case, is called a pontil mark. And when it was produced, this was all handmade. They had a large rod called a pontil rod that would make this indentation into the glass, and it would hold the glass bottle so the glass blower could finish off the neck and the lip of the bottle. And when they removed it from the glass, from the molten glass, it created this mark. And it's one way to tell the age of the bottle. Much of the Raritan Landing community vanished by the late 1800s. It was not until the 1930s that some of the early studies of the community took place. Cornelius Clarkson Vermeulen, who was a civil engineer, grew up in one of the houses at Raritan Landing, and he became fascinated about its history when he started to hear stories about the early history of the community and the houses that were once there. In the 1930s, he created a map plotting out where he thought most of the buildings stood at the landing, and began to do some writing about the community. His work was used in 1978 when the first archaeological excavations took place at the site. There was a sewer project that was coming through part of Johnson Park, and the sewer project was impacting the area where these buildings once stood. An archaeological team came out and they excavated a 15-foot wide, 40-foot corridor, and they found building foundations and artifacts related to the community. We have here in the case the artifacts that were found during that 1978 excavation, and they include material from the homes and the businesses that were located near the intersection of Landing Lane and River Road. And they're material that dates from the mid-1700s up to the early 1800s. There's some earthenware dishes, smoking pipes as well. And the smoking pipe has the name of the manufacturer on the bowl of the pipe, Robert Tippett, who was came from a family of prolific pipe makers in England, and some other ceramic items as well. This is a modern map of the area. You can see Route 18 as it comes across the Raritan River, which is down here into Piscataway, and then modern-day River Road and Landing Lane. This shows the historic properties that were located at Raritan Landing. Today this is all Johnson Park, but these were the historic properties, and then the people that lived or had businesses at those properties. And these were properties that were excavated by the archaeologists. You had the traders that were located in the flats, the low-lying area of Raritan Landing near the river. And then there were those that lived on the high ground, on the bluff to the north of River Road. And today this is demarks the Cornelius Lau House, which is one of the historic structures that's still standing today. This is a portrait that was painted sometime in the early decades of the 1800s of John Bray. To our knowledge, this is the only surviving image that we have of a Raritan Landing resident. John Bray was born in 1750, and he lived at Raritan Landing and then later New Brunswick. He was a prominent citizen during the Revolutionary War. He helped secure supplies for the Continental Army, and had a prosperous business at both the Landing and then later New Brunswick. In 1807 and again in 1813, John Bray was a judge in the Court of Common Pleas in Somerset County. And what's interesting about the painting is what we see off to the side. Well, you can see there's an inkwell and a quill, and then there are two books that are just behind it. And on the spine of the book it says Laws of N. Jersey. So it's paying homage to his judiciary service in Somerset County. On this case here, we have some items that highlight everyday life during the colonial period. And we have a collection of lead window caming. And these pieces were used to separate the panes of glass on windows. This here is an etching, historic etching of the Netherlands, but it shows the diamond-shaped panes of glass that were separated with pieces of lead. The archaeologist at Raritan Landing found a glazier workshop with similar lead caming. And on the inside of them, sometimes the glaziers would place their initials and also date them. In fact, the little piece that we have here, the detail here shows the year 1715 and then the initials of the glazier. The reason why they did this was this dates back to European guilds where if the window failed, if there was a quality control issue and the window failed, they could go back and see when the window was made and who did it, and possibly kick that person out of the guild or fine them. And of course, from the archaeological perspective, what's important is that this is a tool that archaeologists can use to help date a structure. The Raritan Landing community was a thriving community up until the Revolutionary War. As fighting broke out in this region, the British occupied both New Brunswick and Raritan Landing from December of 1776 to June of 1777. There were literally thousands of soldiers that were stationed in this area and encampments that were located at Raritan Landing and also occupying the houses that were there. There was much destruction during the war as local American militia troops skirmished with the British soldiers and also Hessian mercenaries that were at the Raritan Landing community. The archaeologists found evidence of destruction during the war as well as artifacts associated with soldiers. In this display case here, we have a reproduction uniform from a British soldier from the 35th Regiment, one of the regiments that were stationed at Raritan Landing. Next to the uniform are the original artifacts that were uncovered by the archaeologists. We know a little bit about some of the regiments because the buttons that the soldiers wore often had some sort of insignia on it that defined the regiment they were in. The two buttons there have 35 on them to signify the 35th Regiment, and we have the reproductions here on this uniform. We can see the shoulder strap buckle towards the top, which would have went right here. Musket balls as well, which would have been stored in the cartridge box on the soldier, and then going all the way down to the bottom, the shoe buckle as well. So here we can see the original material that was found by the archaeologist, really just bits and pieces of the uniform. So that's why we reconstructed the uniform using reproductions to give a clearer picture of what a soldier during the Revolutionary War would have looked like. Well, I hope you enjoyed this mini tour of Raritan Landing. On behalf of the Middlesex County Board of Chosen Freeholders and the Middlesex County Cultural and Heritage Commission, we'd like to invite you to East Jersey Old Town Village, not only to see this exhibit, but the other exhibits that we have at this site. For more information, you can visit our website. You can also call us at 732-745-4489. We're here Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 4:15 and Sundays from 1 to 4. And we hope to see you soon. Thank you.